Welcome to AI and Automation in Action, where we show business leaders how to turn AI from a buzzword into measurable operational leverage. If you're serious about operational efficiency and responsible AI adoption, you're in the right place.
Well, hey again, Hunter, back to talk through more exciting and fun automations that we've experienced working through, helping clients out, see benefits of AI and automation. So tell us a little bit about what we're going to be looking at today.
Yep. Thanks for having me again today, Shane. Today we are going to be jumping into shipping tracking updates. One issue that we've seen is a lot of the shipping platforms such as FedEx, UPS, they don't have those native alert mechanisms where they will notify you if a shipment has been delivered outside of your basic text. And what we're going to be diving into today is how we can leverage integrating those APIs with your existing systems to deliver those alerts with a CRM, PSA, Microsoft Teams, SMS, and making those alerts go a bit further than just what you're getting from the native integrations. We can make that happen. So that's what we'll be diving into today.
Sounds pretty cool. So if I understand correctly, the challenge that we're looking at is, a client had a software platform that did not have, they could go to the UPS website and manually go look up that, or go to the FedEx website and manually look up that information using the tracking number. But in terms of updating their internal software or updating their internal team or even updating their client, there was no native way to pull that information together, correct?
Exactly. And what that required was that team member to go out, make sure it was delivered if they weren't the person receiving the package, and then going into the actual ticket or a team and updating that document so it's clear that package has been delivered.
Or even delayed, or it's in transit and you need to expect it next Thursday. So I can imagine for if you don't do a ton of shipping, this may not be a huge time saver for you. But if you do ship equipment or product or whatever, and your platform does not have that automatic update, this could be a huge time saver because you start thinking about how much time it takes to go and copy and paste tracking numbers, get that information, and then go back and forth in between platforms. I can see the benefit of this anyway.
Exactly. And not only one tracking number, but a lot of the time you will find that with one tracking number, there will be 7 other tracking numbers that are nested under that parent because there are 7 different packages coming in that one order. Having to go through and look at all 7 of those and get that status can be a lot more cumbersome than just having to go look at one package and update that. So
makes total sense. Sounds good. Walk us through what solution you were able to come up with for this challenge.
Yep. So what we did was we leveraged the FedEx API. What that required was getting a developer account created with them. So that way we're staying within their terms of service and their agreement. From there, we integrated that with one of our automation platforms, and it's pulling a table of tickets or products that are in this certain status. And from that table list, that includes all of the tracking numbers. So it is something that the procurement person or person that is handling those packages, they have to do right out the get-go is put that tracking number in. But from there, that feeds that automation. From that table, it grabs that tracking number, takes that and feeds that into the FedEx API and gets a list of all of the details. And a lot of that is stuff that doesn't make sense to a lot of people, but that list, we format it into a list that does make sense. That is the list that is then used to deliver that alert into our PSA system. And from there, it is changing the status. If it finds all of the tracking numbers have been delivered, it's then changing that status, reflecting it's been delivered. And not to get too technical, but if there is multiple tracking numbers, one challenge that we faced was, what if two of them are delivered and five of them are still needing updates? How do we exclude those two from the automation? And so what we did was we added another field that is excluded tracking numbers. So similar to right out the get-go, how the procurement person is adding that tracking number within the automation, as it finds if it's delivered, it will update that tracking number into the excluded tracking number. So moving forward, that will no longer be seen as a tracking number that needs updates, and it will just pull those five technically that still need updates, and it'll post them to the ticket until it's found it's been delivered.
So not only have we gotten the ability that we can pull that live data, but we've also made it intelligent enough that it can discern what's been delivered, what's not, and filter based upon what it gets back from that. So let me ask you, you mentioned at the beginning of it, is dependent upon someone feeding that tracking number in. Let's say, for example, your supplier has the ability that they send you that tracking number, or they have an API. Could that be automated as well?
Exactly. Yep. So if there's any way that, how you are getting that information is critical, because that piece could then feed this piece and fully automate that process for you. But right now, how our team is leveraging it is we've been able to automate, 80, 85% of that portion, and then the recurring checks on top of that as well.
Nice. And so automated it to put that information into the CRM and PSA software. From there, can update clients through email. Is it mainly just updating fields, or can you extend that even more?
Yep. So we can update the fields. And then on top of that, we can leverage other API services such as Twilio. I know that there is already the ability for FedEx and UPS to send alert mechanisms, but it may not look how you want it to be. And so that's how we can leverage other sources, get that list of details to be returned exactly how you want it, and then layer on top of that and send your team, or potentially post a message in a channel in Microsoft Teams for your procurement team. So then that way, not only that one person is aware that's been in charge of that procurement, but it's also posting a message to the team and making them aware, hey, we got this package. Now we can move forward with scheduling this project, or whatever that may look like on your side.
Nice. So basically, any messaging platform, any other third-party platform, as long as there's an API access that we can get to, we can work with that. Not only just have a single function automation, but extend that as much as we want, really.
Correct. Yep. And just to be clear, yes, it does need to require API, but we will also need to fit within what that API does support. Now, a lot of these systems right now, like Teams, we already know that it does support that because those are things we're doing, but just something as well to be mindful of is there are limitations as well when it comes to the API. Yep.
So that's a really critical point, because I know in talking with a lot of software providers and being at some of the industry conferences, having API access is becoming one of the things that's in really high demand. And a lot of times software providers will just say, yes, we've got an API available. But when you get in, the API may only give you access to one or two fields, not the full functionality. Or they have rate limits that you can only poll so many times per hour, per day, or there's charges. So having a clear understanding of the API access, what's there, how it's billed, what the functionality is, those are all critical items to explore as you look through the automation side.
Absolutely.
Well, cool. This is a simple and easy, I say easy because I didn't build it, but it's simple and easy automation that we were able to pull together, provides tremendous time saving. And the important thing is that this is a building block that we can layer on top of. We can build some AI analysis around this if we wanted to extend that in terms of logic and reasoning. But having that building block is that first step. And it's not always about building this, grandiose, multi-step, complex automation. A lot of times, and probably you correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of times it's better to start with small blocks that you just build and layer upon.
Exactly. Not only that, but the simpler the process it is for your team that they're following right now, the simpler it is for us to implement for an automation. And, you know, oftentimes we do kick back sometimes to customers and not say we won't automate it, but we do recommend that they take a look at their process, make sure it fits within the realm of automating it best practices, following best practices. Because, for example, I know maybe next week we're talking about a PDF builder. And so diving into that, if your team is handwriting information, we may recommend that you look at typing that information so it's easier for the automation to detect those kinds of things and prevent user error, if you would.
Right. Yeah. And I know we've run into that with a couple of different automation instances that we were working through. So great input there. I appreciate that clarity. And like I say, getting the idea that even starting small, building small little building blocks that get layered upon, understanding the full flow that you're looking to build, and going back to our main tenet that you can't automate a process that does not exist as a process. So in other words, if it's in someone's head, we can't automate what's in their head. It has to be a process that gets documented and stepped through. So great discussion. Love this particular automation, what it's delivering. Looking forward to hearing more about how you guys are building some amazing things.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me again, Shane.
Awesome. Thanks, Hunter.
No problem. Till next time.
Thanks for tuning in to AI and Automation in Action. If today's conversation sparked ideas about how AI or automation could improve your operations, we'd love to continue that discussion with you. Join us next time as we showcase another real-world implementation and break down how to deploy AI responsibly and effectively. And if you want to brainstorm with our team, email us anytime at ideas@innovativeautomations.ai. Until next time.